We're back with breaking news. A Trump-appointed federal judge in Texas ruled that the president unlawfully invoked the Alien Enemies Act and blocked the administration from quickly deporting some alleged gang members. I want to quickly bring in Priscilla Alvarez, who's got the details. Priscilla, tell us more.
Dana, this is a significant blow for the Trump administration, which has wanted to lean on this sweeping wartime authority, the Alien Enemies Act. Well, a federal judge in Texas saying just moments ago that the president exceeded his authority by invoking this law that was intended to be used during wartime. Let me read you a snippet of what he said. He said, quote, allowing the president to unilaterally define the conditions when he may invoke the AEA, the Alien Enemies Act, and then summarily declare that those conditions exist would remove all limitations to the executive branch's authority under the AEA and would strip the courts of their traditional role of interpreting congressional statutes to determine whether a government official has exceeded the statute's scope. It goes on to say the law does not support this position. The position, Dana, that the administration has taken is that Tren de Aragua, that Venezuelan gang, is a foreign terrorist organization and that they are invading the United States. And so the administration has said that they can use the authority based on that. Well, this federal judge is not buying it, according to this opinion. And Dana, while there have been legal challenges across the country over the use of this act, this is again the first time that a federal judge is weighing in on whether or not the president exceeded his authority. ACLU's Lee Gallant told me in a statement that this is the first court, quote, to squarely rule on the fundamental question of whether a wartime authority can be used during peacetime, and properly concluded it cannot. Now, as far as for the immigrants who are detained in this judge's district, they cannot be deported under this authority as of now. But again, that is constrained to those in his district. But of course, Dana, this is going to launch perhaps several more steps in the court system when, again, this federal judge says that Trump exceeded his authority to invoke the Alien Enemies Act.
Before I let you go, Priscilla, just on that note, is it just these particular people who are alleged to be part of a gang that can't be deported or sent to that notorious prison in El Salvador, or is this potentially more broad?
That's correct. It is those individuals, Venezuelan migrants, who have been alleged to be part of this gang, who are in this district, who cannot be deported under this authority. There are various other legal challenges playing out around the country as to others who may be eligible based off the administration's determination, but that is who it affects as of this afternoon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Priscilla. I appreciate that. Just to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, that it is a first. It's the first time we have seen a federal judge say that on its merit, the Alien Enemies Act should not be used in this case. But it's also the who of it all. Judge Fernando Rodriguez of the Southern District of Texas was appointed by Donald Trump.
He was back in 2017, the president's first year in office. And this is something that we really shouldn't have to say because a federal judge rules as they rule, but it has become part of the fight in all of this, if it's an Obama-appointed judge or whatnot. So it was a Trump-appointed judge. And the reason it's significant for what Priscilla was laying out there is because it's more difficult for the White House to sort of go after this judge, as he has been doing on Judge Boasberg here in Washington and others. But I think a bigger question is this, likely to end up in the Supreme Court or something, and does the White House follow this? As of now, the president, says that he does follow the rulings and orders of judges. So we shall see. But 1798, that's when the Alien Enemies Act was signed, only used 3 times in wartime. So the minute that was signed and happened, which was on a Saturday, you knew that it would be challenged, and this is it.
Yeah, they are not surprised by any of this. This is certainly the biggest blow, but this is the biggest blow in a series of setbacks in the courts for the Trump administration. But what I'm hearing inside is that there's the legal piece of it, right? And they will fight this in the courts. But for Trump in particular, just as important is the messaging and communications fight on this. It's going to be tougher because this is a Trump-appointed judge, but they are saying, and you heard Stephen Miller, I was in the briefing room, you were there today, say that judges are trying to restrict the president's power. They're trying to play Secretary of State, and they cannot do that. Stephen Miller has his own legal theories about how this should all play out, but the main thing that they are going to do is hammer the messaging on this, and they think that is the best way to win in the court of public opinion right now as they wait for the Supreme Court to ultimately take this up.
And we saw this with the president yesterday in the cabinet meeting, right, when he was speaking with Pam Bondi, saying that you've got a couple
judge
of
problems.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you've got judge problems. We saw J.D. Vance talk about the limitations of the judges to subvert the president's executive power, particularly during an emergency, which they're casting now. But this is the first big blow, and this isn't a great deal, right? This isn't a great look for the president. This is back-to-back now, 2 days of two of his most central themes of his 2024 campaign. Yesterday, we had some sour economic news. Today, he gets a setback on the immigration front as well. Whether or not he can message and continue to, which is what he's done to the public, that judges are staying in his way and he's keeping people safe, remains to be seen.
Caitlin Pollance joins us live now from Washington. So, Caitlin, what more do we know here?
Zane, this is the sort of opinion from a judge, an order from a judge that we have been waiting to see what the courts would do. This is a judge in the Southern District of Texas who's saying that Donald Trump cannot use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to remove people who are allegedly members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, to deport them out of the United States and send them to a Salvadoran prison, as he has tried to do at least twice so far in this administration. There have been several legal challenges, several ongoing court cases around people in this type of group.
So, Eddie, the president says all of this, including there seemed to be quite a bit of laughter when they talk about judge problems, which might include defying judicial orders. And then he says, we've just gotten started. You haven't seen anything yet. What does that mean for the country going forward?
It means that we stand on the precipice, Chris. I mean, our democracy is, and we're not being hyperbolic here, our democracy is under threat. More importantly, it's under siege. Donald Trump has just expressed very clearly his unitary theory of executive power, that he has a view of the imperial presidency that runs roughshod over the separation of powers. He doesn't care about 3 equal branches of government. We are presently, and there's no hyperbole here again, we are presently in a constitutional crisis. The question is, will the American people allow it? And so when he says he's going to barrel forward, that means he's going to continue to exercise executive power without constraint. And that means, to be honest, Chris, our democracy is in real peril at this point.
Let me give you an example of what has a lot of people concerned, Congressman. Last night, the president made a pretty startling announcement about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man deported to El Salvador. Let me play for you exactly what he said.
The order from the Supreme Court stands, sir.
Came into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
Not only does that contradict his own team, they've claimed that he is essentially powerless, that they were waiting for the president of El Salvador to do something, but it also makes it clear he has no intention of following a Supreme Court order to facilitate the release. So now what?
Well, they're quibbling over the definition of the word facilitate. What does that mean? To listen to the Attorney General, she said they would facilitate, a plane ride for this guy back. But apparently, the president is not going to call the president of the United States, is not going to call the president of El Salvador to demand that this person be put on the plane and sent home. That's the problem right now. I mean, like Eddie says, we're in a constitutional crisis. I don't know if we're there yet, but we're approaching one. And candidly, on the political side of this, Donald Trump would like nothing more than all day, every day to talk about this issue. He feels like he's winning every time he's talking about immigration and illegal immigrants. It distracts from the economic message that is really causing him enormous problems right now. But right now, the president is not facilitating the return of this individual. And I suspect the Supreme Court is going to have to step in again and offer further guidance as to how this man should be returned.
Yeah, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Eddie, is one example. Last night, though, the president again called undocumented immigrants as a group monsters that are raping and slaughtering Americans and trying to destroy our country. Of course, that's despite actual data that shows undocumented immigrants commit violent crime at a much lower rate than U.S. citizens. Trump also played at that rally a highly produced video of detainees being sent to El Salvador that's become familiar to most of us. But it was accompanied with a soundtrack, and I want to play that. The reaction to that, as you can see, cheers and chants of USA. Is the message that they're sending with that video law and order? Or, Eddie, is it something else?
Chris, law and order has always carried with it an ugly underbelly. As a phrase, this is hearkening back to the 1920s. Remember, the Johnson-Reed Immigration Act was basically written by the KKK. There is a deep nativist and racist undertow to what we're seeing and what we're hearing. The facts do not matter. There is a kind of a replay of the 100% Americanism that defined the 20s and the 30s. And we need to understand that for what it is. We can give them data all day long, Chris. It doesn't matter, because something more visceral, something uglier, something, dare I say, evil, is animating this. And unless we name it as such, we will find ourselves complicit with horrors. I'm speechless in some ways.
Well, Congressman, the president also didn't hold back when asked about going after his political enemies. And here's what he said about that.
You are the president now, and I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
What we have here is Trump again flipping out in court, saying we have judge problems. Guys, this is yet another mark of totalitarianism. Like, look, politicians have complained about judges before. This has happened. But Trump does it so incessantly. And not just in a big philosophical sense, like, we need better judges or whatever. He's like, specifically, when I lose cases, when I personally, Donald Trump, as we've seen criminally and civilly, lose cases, and now he's a convicted felon and his company is a convicted criminal company, or when he, like, the Trump administration loses cases and Trump views them as his lawyer, you see him like this. And he's like, we gotta get rid of the judges. It's the mark of a totalitarian. It is. Going after the judges is usually a sign that you're trying to make a move against the social, order, and you're trying to make a move against the Constitution. Simple as that. And if Trump wasn't already earmarked as a totalitarian correctly, then maybe you'd say, well, look, everybody has these little moments, whatever. But not with Trump. He is quickly saying in court as he loses cases, including to judges that are appointed by him, he is saying, I am a king, I am above the law, and I want to change the law until the law agrees with me. King Trump, dictator Trump. This is not a warning, guys. This is our new reality.